There's that thing about live to work and work to live, and I can't remember which one is the right one, but perhaps despite what the world seems to tell us, despite the general feeling in, let's face it, what has become an almost terminally cynical world, perhaps it's possible to care about what you do. Perhaps it's possible to believe in what you do. Perhaps it's possible to believe in something, for Christ's sake. I mean, how many hours are you spending at work? A third of your life? A quarter? You want to do something that you feel okay and you're not a cunt, but proud of, so you try. You work hard to do better. Yes. Because it's not wrong. Yes. To believe. Yes. It's not wrong to want to believe in something. You work for a credit card company, let's say. You are in charge of policy, for example. Okay, you'd rather be a movie star or a footballer or a supermodel or an aid worker in Sudan, but you aren't. And you're happy. You've done well to get this far. You do a job, you do it well, you get on with it. You're a good person. Not perfect. No one's perfect. You hate it when your friends do well, but you feel terrible for feeling like that. An ordinary fucking human fucking being, so let's not judge. You have ideas, for Christ's sake. You think. You have an imagination. You want to do well for your family. There are children, one of each, a girl of 3 and her 18-month-old brother. A 3-year-old girl who looks just like your partner, and it's funny because she's even beginning to act a little bit like her. And that is funny to see this tiny version of someone you know so well growing. You argue about money, but you also argue about telly and childcare. And one day you have this idea. Yes. You happen to notice that a large amount of the people you turn down for credit get their credit from other sources, not so reputable sources. But these days you can always get credit, and they pay incredibly high rates of interest, sometimes the equivalent of an annual interest of 95%, 100%. You've heard of as high as 160%, and you wonder about offering. Not the package they've applied for. And sorry if this is boring, but it's actually quite exciting. But a different credit package for people whose credit is too bad for the one that they've applied for. See? And of course, because their credit is bad, they pay more money. Which makes sense. Less, actually. Less, actually, than they would be paying to the less reputable sources. So you're sort of doing them a favor. And you look at the amount to be made on the interest payments. And you look at the amount to be lost on the people who default. And you take the second sum away from the first sum and you realize that the difference is a sizable chunk of cash. A very sizable chunk of profit for your company and its shareholders. And your job is to make more profit for your company and its shareholders. That's what having shareholders is all about. That is the point of shareholders. And you realize that this is one of those ideas. You know? One of those ideas that come along, one of those great ideas, and you somehow feel that this great idea, and this may be silly, that this great idea has been given to you from a higher source. That's silly. That's silly. That is silly. You know that it's silly. And you don't believe that, but that's how it feels. And you know that this is your chance. The world is holding out its hand. There is some kind of alignment going on. A portal or something. And it'll only last for seconds. All right, maybe not. But it feels that way. And you know that someone else is bound to have this idea. Any day now. Any day now. Ideas like this, they don't hang around long. And the question you have to ask is, are you the person who sat on the sidelines? Are you the person who watched? The question you have to ask is simple. What kind of person are you? It works beautifully. Your idea. Increased turnover of 35 million in the first year alone. It's attractive. People are attracted to it. And you made it. It's something you made. And you're rewarded. Yes, you're promoted. And the respect of people around you. And you notice that when you're introduced to people, they already know who you are. And sometimes they even raise an eyebrow and say, "Oh," in recognition before shaking your hand. Which is nice. That is nice. And maybe you start thinking about a new child. Things are good. Things are really good. But your mind might find itself wandering back to those figures. Yes, to the second sum, the defaulters. Things are still good. Oh yes. But your mind might find itself wandering back to the people in that second sum, and you might, though you try not to think about it, you might find yourself thinking of some of those figures as people. Because they are, really. You're not responsible. No, of course. We're all adults, for Christ. But you might think about these people, and their hardship. And that's a stupid word, like something out of the 19th century. But it keeps coming back into your head. Hardship. It's stupid, but hardship. You might no longer want another child. You might not be able to look in your partner's face. You might find that food now tastes the same, like plastic. You might find that eating food is like putting plastic into your mouth. You might find that you are increasingly prone to dark moods, and you might wonder how to get rid of this feeling, and you might sleep with strangers, and you might buy stuff, and you might find that nothing works. Nothing. And you might have this terrible fear that every day, working or otherwise, will actually be like wading through blood.